Our leader is not ruling out boots on the ground. Do you see how it's slowly faded? Okay, not doing this, gonna be peace. Okay, we're gonna sell them some things they need. Okay, we're gonna assist them. Okay, you can use our technology in our arsenal to help take care of the situation. Oh, well, I'm not ruling out boots on the ground. Out of our inception year since 1776, I think America has been in war 220 something years of that inception. So we've been in war way more than we've been at peace. It's time for peace, no doubt. We have a leader who is leading us into this, who had a story come out about his health and his capabilities. It should make us wonder. And it should make us worry. Now, we're not only going to talk about really the steps towards war, like we're seeing, we're also going to talk about something that's even more dangerous. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm a little overwhelmed. You see there's hay out. It's been raining. I have not gotten in the barn. We'll talk about this on the vlog channel, but if you can see, I've got major damage. A big tree came down, so we've got a mess to start cleaning up. We'll talk more about that on the vlog channel, but it's just been a tough morning to wake up to a storm. And yes, we see the sunrise and it is a beautiful day, but man, to see the destruction we had during that storm, it's just unbelievable. Now to today's video. I guess I'm a little stressed, I guess, with all this going on, but I want to read to you 3 stories that came out that it should terrify you, especially if you have children. One thing I've realized is when you have kids, and I have 6 kids, and I know a lot of you have kids and grandkids too, you're no longer just worried about yourself, you're worried about your family, you're worried about your children, you're worried about their spouses, their children, because we're living in a world that is in pure chaos. And when we have weak leaders and then tyrannical leaders on the opposite side, then we have the problems that we're seeing. America has been at war for 222 years out of 239 years. That is unbelievably huge. And I think there's an underlying problem of the fact that people make a lot of money off of it, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the sacrifice of people and lives and families all in the name of $1, and that just blows my mind. All right, let's jump into these stories. The Zero Hedge article says that Biden is not ruling out boots on the ground in China, especially if they invade Taiwan. Now, if you remember just a few days ago, we talked about how Taiwan is literally on the brink of invasion from China. It's already been discussed. We talked about this for months, how this was the kind of quote-unquote best time because of the way the island is, because of the way the water is, and China's proximity. China wants that for themselves so they can have all their technology, the semiconductors. It's a big deal. So Biden is already warning troops on the ground. That is a major concern, I think, to me, because again, we're fighting 2 wars, and every war that we tend to fight, I don't want to fight it on U.S. soil, but we have a war that's happening on U.S. soil with the fact of the invasion, and also we're going to talk about one more thing. But now we're allowing ourselves to be just encapsulated with wars across, actually at the furthest part from us. We're talking China and Russia, and the biggest players. Now, do you think that all these people that's infiltrating our country, don't you think they may have ties back to these countries that don't like us? Don't you think that could propose a major problem? I think about the cell phone issues yesterday. I think about the stock market issues just 2 days ago. We're opening ourselves to vulnerabilities when we're speaking from a leader who is senile, saying he's going to do all these things to protect America when America is already weakened. We have a weakened border, and then we see the fact that we're saying that we may have boots on the ground in Taiwan. That is crazy to me. Breaking news also. Listen to this. As we're talking about China, again, I think all these things are dabbled in front of you to forget the major problem back at home. But NATO readies 300,000 troops for European defense against Russia. Now, Russia has said they're not moving towards NATO. Okay, remember that. NATO is moving towards Russia. Russia is taking the land that they're wanting to take. Wrong or right, it doesn't matter. The fight is with Russia and Ukraine. It has nothing to do with all the other places around that in the East European countries. However, NATO, again, is literally sticking their thumb in a wound that they're not going to allow heal, because what they're saying is, now we're going to ready 300,000 troops. Now here's another thing, listen to this. They're using this for land corridors to quickly deploy 300,000, listen to this, U.S. troops to the European front lines. Troops would land at key points, including in Rotterdam, and move east via pre-planned routes to a potential Russian attack. Now this is from a leader of NATO that's kind of giving us this hint towards this. So a pre-planned, meditated place that we're supposed to be when Russia so-called attacks this area. And NATO says they're readying 300,000 troops. Look at the fine writing. NATO is readying the troops and readying the European areas to make key spots safe for U.S. troops to come in to the European front lines. We're setting ourselves up for major war. Huge logistic bases, as we know them from Afghanistan to Iraq, are no longer possible because we're so stupid, and we allow that the Bagram Air Force Base go away. We allow the fact that China takes that over. We also allow the fact that we have no place in Africa that was built for surveillance in Niger that we were part of, but it got taken over, and our wonderful leader let it go and walked away from it. Again, billions of dollars spent in Air Force bases that we've just allowed to go. Since that time, these corridors that they're now building, since we have allowed billions to be spent on things that we've given to the Taliban, the Chinese, the Russians, these corridors now would be built and utilized ports in the Netherlands, Italy, Greece, Turkey, and Norway. Now, Turkey is against this push that we're making with Israel in the Middle East, so I don't know if that's going to work too well. As well as Germany, Poland, railways in their border. Escalating warnings of a Russian assault, Russia says they will not tolerate this. Now, they've said that a few times, and they said that we're not going to tolerate U.S. weaponry, and all of a sudden, U.S. weaponry was used. Yesterday, within 24 hours of this video, a Russian target was hit with U.S. weaponry. That is escalation. And you wonder why we have cyber attacks. You wonder why we have problems with our kids. You wonder why we have all these problems. And then you wonder why we're allowing all these people to cross our border. And you don't think there should be, you don't think there's vulnerabilities there. It is blowing my mind because I think about my children. I think about how, you know, there's a point where they're young, I can protect them to a point. But they've got to grow up in this. And to see the fact that now we're literally trying to pick fights with two world powers with nuclear arsenals. And here, let me read this from our leader. This is a Wall Street Journal report. It says, behind closed doors, signs of Biden is slipping. Participants in meetings of an 81-year-old spoke in anonymity because they don't want to be told that they can't have a job in the White House, says that the president's performed very poorly at times. And they believe that he is playing more partisan politics because his sharpness is gone. Now think about that. Now we know he's failing. We know his health is failing. But now we're talking about a man who is leading us into a world war again with tyrannical leaders, and he is at the helm, supposedly protecting us. Douglas Macgregor says this. It says NATO is now planning to get U.S. troops on the front line of Russia. What are they thinking? NATO has disclosed its preparations to deploy American troops to the European front lines for a full-scale conflict with Russia. He said, here we go, just shortly following the Biden administration's authorization for Ukraine to employ American weaponry against Russia, Kiev swiftly acted with newfound liberty and targeted military installations across the border, utilizing U.S. manufactured artillery systems from Ukraine into Russia. This man is a brilliant man when it comes to war and military. He says this marks the inaugural instance of a Ukrainian official openly acknowledging the use of American weaponry to engage targets with Russia subsequent to the fact that President Biden's provocation. Now it does say that Biden was trying to say you can only use it for certain things. And Ukraine was like, well, you gave them to us, we're going to use them. So now we have a Chinese situation with Taiwan. We have the Middle East. We have Russia, and we have escalated every one of them. We, Americans, have escalated every one of them. NATO is using America to escalate, saying that they're going to move 300,000 U.S. troops to the front lines. I want you to listen to one more thing that just infuriates me. And again, this is our taxpayer dollars. We spent trillions of dollars, where? In the Middle East. 20 years, trillions of dollars, tons of presidents, I want you to listen to this, to basically run Taliban out of power, to run Al-Qaeda out of power. Insane. Corroborated sources confirm that the US government is giving Taliban $40 to $80 million a week. A week. We are now giving the Taliban that much money a week. It's all been lies. The purpose of them so-called being our friend is because we are paying them a large sum of money. We spent 20 plus years fighting the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, at the drop of the hat. And now we let it go. We let Bagram go. We've spent trillions. Millions of people were killed. And now we're giving taxpayer dollars of $40 to $80 million to the Taliban. Who are the Taliban friends with? It's not us. It's China. They're the ones that's allowed them to have Bagram. What are we doing? This is what scares me. The physical war, the hot wars, the fact that my children are growing up in a wartime to where everything that we do depends on war instead of peace and economy growth, instead of protecting our own borders. This is heartbreaking to me. And the more we focus on those things, the less we focus on here, which is a spiritual war in America. So not only are we facing a hot war, a physical war across the world, we're losing troops, then we're sending all our infantry, all our US troops away from America, so we're more vulnerable than we've ever been. And now we're facing a true spiritual war back at home because, again, we're worried about pride instead of humility for June. Not only that, we're teaching our families that this is what life is supposed to be about. That it's all about war. It's all about tough times. Well, it's time for Americans to stand up and say enough is enough. We're being led by a political class, a bureaucratic class, and also a leader who is at his demise because he is senile. I'm sorry, he's 81. We don't live in the time of biblical days where people lived to 900. The average age for a man now is like late 70s, early 80s. This man is there. He's running for re-election. Come on. There is going to be some serious ramifications to either the Russia situation, the China situation, or the fact that we're having spiritual warfare back at home. All the while we're putting tons of billions of dollars across overseas and our troops overseas, sending them away from their families to ultimately see the demise of our country. I'm heartbroken over it because I see families split up because now their husbands are having to go over and fight a war that they shouldn't be fighting for people that they don't even know anything about. Not only that, we have a fact that I don't believe China and Russia is going to automatically just attack America. I think what they're going to do is the silent activation of what's going on here right now. Borders open, several little attacks happen. Borders open, cyber attacks happen. Borders open, energy grid goes down. Borders open, cell phone towers go down. Borders open, the market crashes. They don't need to attack us kind of like they're attacking all these other areas. We can be taken out like that because we have put ourselves in a vulnerable spot with a vulnerable leader, taking all the good things about America, the money, the sovereignty, the economy, the men, and we're sending them across the seas. And that is what's heartbreaking to me. Because I have 6 kids, again, growing up in a fallen world. And it's even more fallen because we're allowing it to be because we're not standing up. As men, as strong families, as Christian leaders, and ultimately as someone who wants to speak out. Guys, it's now more than ever time to wake up and make sure your family is prepared for the crazy times that they're going to face. I try to prepare my sons and my daughters all the time, and that doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. That doesn't mean I do everything right. But, you know, it's kind of like this barn. It's broken. It's tore up. It's completely worthless on that one side. I have to rebuild it though. American is broken. We are torn up. A tree has fell on us. And we're broken. It's time to rebuild. I'm hoping that it's not too late. We don't need to tear it down. We need to rebuild it and fix it. Because our kids are growing up in this. And that is what matters. As I get started on a busy day, tearing down a tree and checking on a barn, and there's a lot more damage, and you'll see that in the vlog. It's a new day, and we're gonna rebuild it, and we're gonna have animals in it, and we're gonna prepare, and it may get tore down again. But my goal is I want to rebuild and repair and fix. And America is at that point where we can rebuild, repair, and fix. But we better be ready. God bless. Be free.